Once again, more production issues for Youjo Senki. Seriously, Crunchyroll. I love this series. This is one of those series I look forward to every single week. And every single week, when I sit down, I wake up early for a change instead of oversleeping, I see that there's production issues on an episode. I'm like, the fuck? The fuck? This is like 2-3 weeks in a row now? Like, seriously, Crunchyroll. Like, oh my god. Like, oh my god. Apparently the Raws were up this morning, so it wasn't the fact that, you know, the episode didn't come out in Japan. So I just, okay, just, you know what, let's just roll with it. It made me upset to know that, once again, another delay, because it's now becoming a weekly thing, which I'm like, why does it always have to be Tanya? Anyways, though, this episode, oh my god, the dogfight, the aerial tactics to just... Actually, the armistice, just everything. Oh, this entire episode was fucking great. Like, this was probably my favorite episode, visually, but also what it represented towards the end of the episode. So, let's talk about art animation, the aerial dogfighting and all that before I get into what Tanya did towards the end of the episode. So, the dogfighting, in terms of just visual standpoint, impressive. I gotta admit that the way Tanya, everybody was flying through the sky and all that, they were doing this dogfighting, you see the, you know, the fire coming in, like, you know, bullets from all angles, they're dodging and shit, you see their shields coming up, and then you just see how they're using the smoke and, you know, the clouds and the sun to be able to throw off their opponents. It was a really impressive fight. It was a really good dogfight, a lot of tactics thrown in, that wasn't just, you know, running and gunning, or flying and gunning, actually, in this case. It wasn't just, you know, characters just like, fucking shooting at each other, killing each other, and that's it. There was fucking tactics, there was fucking great stuff going on throughout that entire fight, and so I'm happy that they, you know, took that extra effort to show that it wasn't just brain dead fighting. Now, when it came to the visual standpoint, though, when you see the characters moving around doing these flips and stuff, especially the scene when Tanya, she's chasing after people, trying to take down, like the boss battle of this episode, and you just see how she's chasing him down, or she's being chased down, and the way she's able to turn around, flip, fire again, she's upside down firing, just the way the movements of the characters were done. The cinematography was so good throughout this entire episode, and I was just completely stunned, because, I mean, after seeing, you know, how there was a little bit of issues with CGI a couple episodes back with the water and the boats and stuff, you know, I didn't think that I would see something just vastly different from that scene. I mean, Tanya has been a very good series. It's had some good art and animation, but it does have times to where it dips in that quality. But I say this episode is not one of those episodes. This is an episode that showcases, you know, the quality of the studio working on this series and how much effort they'll put in to these scenes, especially when it comes to art and animation. And that's not even talking about some of the things when it comes to Tanya's character towards the end of the episode. Now let's just talk about the boss for a second, okay? You know, the anime original character that shouldn't technically be alive, because that's what got some in an uproar, because, you know, it was kind of going an anime original route. After looking at this episode, now I personally, once again, gonna clarify, if this is your first video of seeing me, of, you know, reviewing Youjo Senki, I'm an anime only, so I don't read the light novel, don't know how it is, don't know the complete difference, so correct me if I am wrong. The only thing that was truly different is the fact that this dude should have been dead. He shouldn't have, you know, been alive, and that's what caused the entire situation, why some light novel readers were a little bit upset. And because of this, it was kind of more of a setup for a finale of the series. That's kind of what the whole purpose of this character being alive. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when you think about a series and all that from an anime standpoint, you just can't have a very silent episode, or an episode that doesn't have a lot of, you know, boom, you know, impact or whatever. It needs, you know, something that leaves, you know, watchers of this series like, holy shit, I need the next season. I need to go buy the BD DVDs of this series. And that's kind of what they want to do. You can clearly see that when they added this character, this, like, in-game boss, especially that entire scene when Tanya and him were fighting. It was a very tense moment. I assumed Tanya was going to win, obviously, but it was a very tense moment regardless of how I knew Tanya probably would live. I was still at the edge of my seat, which that is very impressive, especially for it being an anime original scene. But then on top of that, though, when Tanya shoots this man, like when it seems like everything's going south for this man, Tanya's got a bullet wound, he does too, he can't use his gun anymore, Tanya just pulls up her gun, starts shooting this man to death. You just see him, like, his body ragdolling. I'm like, bro, that is fucking crazy looking. And then when his body is just, like, limp there, he looks up at Tanya, and he just becomes a suicide bomber. And I'm like, bro, Like, yo, like, this man went out with a fucking bang. Like, he straight up did. And I was like, so that's, that was definitely a explosive final boss for season 1. Like, yeah, I can definitely see why. Oh, yeah. The second half was probably the truly interesting stuff of this episode, not just because of Tanya's reaction, but how much it makes sense. See, the armistice, the actual treaty that was going on in this episode, kind of like a ceasefire, that is actually something that has happened in war. That's happened in World War, and many speculate that's the reason why World War II started up once again, was because of an armistice that was made quite a long time ago in actual real history. And obviously it makes sense from Tanya's point of view, being from our actual world, knowing how our history is, seeing something like an armistice and seeing how there's just this big faction of all these troops and soldiers and stuff just leaving and being able to go free. Obviously, that's going to cause some, warning signs. Warning bells are going off in Tanya's head, because she realizes from her own history that what actually happened when it came to an armistice, and how this is not necessarily a surrender, it's more of a counterattack, because these guys that are living are going to be able to come back in another day with a bigger force, more allies to help them out, and so this isn't necessarily the end of the war for them at all, and that's why Tanya was so shooken up, and why she was so pissed off, because it really was a missed opportunity for them not to take down the troops and all that because of the armistice. It shows that they just let a great opportunity slip through their fingers, which will cause it to where this will fall back on Germany, where they're at the Empire, and cause it to where they will be ashamed of what they have done. They should have used this chance to take them out, and then Tanya's like, I told you so. This right here is going to come back to bite them, definitely, and that's why Tanya was really upset and why she said that wasn't the end of the war. They could have ended the war, but now it's not going to be concluded, because with them leaving, they're going to be able to build a resistance to be able to counterattack, and a bigger army is going to come, more tactics and everything, and stronger, troops and all of that. So I understand now, and I feel like that might have flew over many people's heads while watching this episode, and thought that Tanya was just wanting to be bloodthirsty, like she just wanted to end it right then and there, but there was more to it than that, because of the world she came from, and that's why it's just so dire and desperate. So that's about it. That's what this episode pretty much was about. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. How do you all feel about this week's episode of Youjo Senki? I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.